Why, hi! Welcome to issue 645 of Geek in the City Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Duran.
I'm one of your other hosts, Beanarita.
And I am your other host, Cable Hashtani.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Fine, Aaron. How are you?
What? I'm a little loopy.
It was the pause at it's episode 645.
Well, okay. So I'll give a little quick behind the scenes here. When there's when we do the intro, that thing there, I get a little pop up that says you were muted. Yeah. No, wait, no. Oh, you guys get it too? Okay, which makes sense. But once it ended and I started talking, that you are muted stayed on my screen for another 5 seconds, and I'm like, is that a new feature that I didn't know about? So
you thought we couldn't hear you?
I thought it just wasn't
mid-stride.
going. Yeah, I was like, oh gosh, dang it.
Huh.
Yeah. Nope, you're good.
Hey. Whew. Man. Well, good night. That's right. No, I was just very sleepies today and stuff.
Just today.
Oh no, it's been building up for sure.
Yeah, I don't think that you
start yawning this early.
Yeah, I don't think that you've been able to operate at full steam for a full day since probably 3 weeks before La Bruja. Season of the Bruja hit the shelves.
It's felt that way. It really kicked in the day our then landlord told us they were selling the house.
Yeah, there was that too.
So that compounded on that, which is good. We bought the house. Hooray! And then Season of the Bruja is doing really well. Hooray! But I'm still I can't stop. It's just
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I just need a week where I don't have to care about anything, but I don't see that ever happening in my future, ever at all.
Well, that's hyperbolic, but
I mean, what scares me is eventually my body's going to be like, all right, asshole, we're going to force you to do nothing for a week. And even then, I'll probably still be expected to answer emails.
Well, do it before your body tells you to.
I'm going to try.
Apparently, my phone doesn't believe in the do not disturb.
I don't know if it's the phone you can blame for not being on do not disturb.
It does actually say do not disturb is turned on. I'm looking right at it, and yet my phone has made a noise.
Oh, I'm looking.
At least there's that. It'll vibrate, I guess.
That'll do it. Yeah, no, and I've got screen fatigue. I've been in multiple Zoom meetings all day today. So,
super.
Yeah. So, but yeah, other than that, things are good. Just stuff, just tired and everything.
Besides life is good.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah. I feel like that's such a I'm giving a blasé response. I'm yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, if we keep going this way, it's going to turn into Aaron's therapy session. So there's no need for that right now.
That's what I mean, to be fair, the shows are therapy session every week. Every week.
I know.
Which is fine. That's not a criticism, but that is part of why we also do this show is we need to get some of this shit out.
I know.
And for some reason, all of these people find it entertaining.
Right. So, yeah, anyway.
Oh no. What if when I become medicated, I will be less entertaining?
I don't think you will be. I'm heavily medicated and I'm still entertaining. I guess. I don't know.
What was that? What's that? What was I forget how it came up, but it was Like, oh no, it turns out I'm not quirky. I'm just unmedicated and undiagnosed. And then that turned into like, like the panic, the panic, manic pixie dream girl, Zoe Deschanel, and there was a whole thing. It was a whole thing, and it was very funny. And now it's gone. But not
Cool story, Bean.
not quirky, unmedicated. That's
okay. That's good. Yeah.
It'll come to me later.
What was that? Wait a minute. I don't know if he can say that. Well, no, it was well. Oh no, I'm thinking of never mind. I'm thinking of this is how my brain gets here, so hang on to this ride, everybody. So when you said I'm not quirky, I'm medicated. So in my brain, it began to craft like a jingle to that, which then took me to a lyric that I don't think is culturally appropriate anymore, but that lyric got altered with the same tune in the movie Death to Smoochie. And it's the part where he's singing a song to kids about if your mom has a new boyfriend, it might be weird. And the lyric goes, he's like, and just remember, kids, what is it? My boyfriend's not mad, he's just adjusting. Or my mom's friend not, he's just adjusting. So then my brain went to, she's not quirky, she's just not medicated. There you go, guys. There's the train of Aaron's thoughts. That's what this brain does.
We are killing it today, guys.
Mm-hmm. And I am medicated, and this is still what my brain does.
Well, I don't think they make medication for just being weird.
That's not weird, though. That is literally one of the symptoms of ADHD.
Being quirky, or what I just did?
What you just did.
Which is the thing that I've been passing off as quirky for the last 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you see me doing this, my new obsession, I've got my little desk fan going, and I got some Palo Santo spray.
Oh, I love that stuff. It smells so good.
I know, and it's like hits the fan and it gives me this nice mist instead of blowing it right on me. Yep.
I mean, it is still blowing it right on you. It just
but I feel like once it comes out of the air, the pump spray, and it's atomized a bit there, and then it hits the fan air, which atomizes it a little bit more. So I'm not getting droplets. I'm getting a mist.
Mm-hmm.
Cable's about to ask you how that makes you feel.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me feel great. It's Palo Santo. I love it. It's relaxing. It smells so good. It's good stuff. Well, since we are, actually, I mean, does anyone else want to say how they're doing? I've had my time on the couch,
Cable?
I'm
fine. That isn't a loaded fine. It's just
processing.
I'm sufficient.
Working.
Yeah.
Working.
I am average. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm there too.
Which I have had to explain to people in the past. It's like, oh, you're not good? It's like, no, I'm satisfactory. That is a baseline that
meets
that allows you to get things done. And then things that are good, you actually can celebrate as being good. If you think that you're great or good all the time, no, just figure out what your actual baseline is.
If you're always good / great, you're probably lying to yourself, right?
Or you're on drugs. And
Fair enough.
Not to balance your brain out, but
But like fun drugs.
You don't really hear about a lot of depressed people on cocaine while they're on it,
Fair.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. I will say one thing that I did over my weekend that wasn't part of the subject that we're going to spend the rest of the show talking about. I went to my first concert since January of 2020.
Ooh, what'd you go see?
A band called IAMX. IAMX. I may have talked about them before. it's Chris Corner, formerly of the Sneaker Pimps, or also
Oh,
still
okay.
part of the Sneaker Pimps.
Okay.
So they put together a show that was mainly, it was just him on stage with synthesizers. And he's doing several different outdoor shows. The shows here in Portland were both Sunday and Monday night, and they were both supposed to be outside. And then, Portland did what it did,
Jeez.
which is rain torrentially.
Endlessly.
So it was indoors at the Star Theater, which was great. But part of the concept of this show was they distributed Bluetooth headphones so that you were listening to the concert as if you were listening through monitors, like you're one of the performers.
Oh.
So everything that Chris was doing that, like he had the same monitors on so you could hear what he heard on stage.
Right.
Which made for a fascinating concert going experience, and one that's not easily replicated if you have a larger crowd.
Right.
Like,
kind of sounds cool.
Yeah, there was still like maybe 100 people inside, maybe. Like definitely 60. Like it still played through the speakers, so you had the vibration of it being a live show. But what was fascinating was you got the intimacy of just hearing Chris's voice and the music in your headphones.
Mm-hmm.
Well, being there in this huge shared experience that we are used to in a concert. So it was intimate and shared simultaneously. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I'm definitely like trying
cool.
to imagine what that would feel like, and I can't.
Mm-hmm.
But I
It's
want
probably it's the clearest I have ever heard any vocalist at a concert before, because it was right there in my ears, and then I could adjust the sound as need be. Like, so I was able to come out of a concert not feeling like my ears were immediately ringing.
Were there still a lot of like people like cheering and shouting and singing along?
Yes, which was all muffled because you had headphones on.
I would feel weird to like participate to music the way one does at a live show if I were wearing headphones, because the headphones make it just you and the music, and so it's hurting my brain.
Let's also add into this, everyone was also still masked, because that was part of the requirements, is this was going to be a masked show. So everyone is singing along, but your mask is covering your face. So you still have that level of privacy to yourself. It's like
it's cool, but also creepy.
Uh-huh.
It's really hard to wrap my brain around what that must be like.
It's certainly something to experience. I don't expect this will be the only time that I'll ever see something like this. Right. But it's certainly the first time I've ever experienced something like this.
Wait, do they hand out Bluetooth headsets for everyone?
Yes.
Wow. How many? Yep. So that means this is something they've probably done before then.
This is something that they specifically are doing this tour for.
Oh, so the band had the head. It's not the venue.
Oh, not the venue.
Not the venue.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
The band is taking all of this around with them. It's also why that, like, for a show at the Star Theater, it was also like a $40 ticket.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because they have invested in new technology and are attempting to change the intimacy of the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my mind is blown, and I want to see this. I want to experience this.
Mm-hmm.
Norm in the chat is saying that the latest round of VR products are probably going to make that happen, and
yes and no.
I have zero interest in VR. Am I alone on that?
I don't know if I have zero interest. I have interest with very specific things in mind. Like, I can't imagine like the TV or movie experience going into VR. I don't know if I would enjoy that. as much. I like it limited on like on some games, especially when the game is designed for it. Like the one I keep remembering was years ago when Ryan and I did the VR, the Star Wars thing back at Downtown Disney those years ago. That you also put on like a vest that would hit you with impact if you got blasted at, and it hit you with hot air during scenes with lava and wind and stuff. It was super immersive. That's cool. I could almost imagine with good technology, like a broadcast VR concert.
It's still the part of this that is then omitted is being in the same room with everyone who's having the same shared experience, but also having an intimate concert simultaneously. Like that's, if you're going to do that with VR, it's everyone has to be hooked up to the same VR, watching the same thing, doing the same thing at the same location.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that Norm necessarily means it in that same way. I think he just means like people could virtually attend a tour from home.
They could,
but it'll be an enhanced experience because of the VR products. And to that I say,
I think that is possible, but we are still light years away from holodecks.
Yes. That's true.
And that's the immersive VR experience that I think would be more able to supplant being there live.
Right. Yeah. Still kind of cool.
Yeah. But yeah, that's there. That was the thing that I did that isn't what the rest of us, that we all did to get ready for the show this week.
Right. Now, let's talk about the thing we did all three do this weekend.
We went to the Multiverse of Madness, baby.
Woo! Yeah. I was painting one of them.
I gotta ask this of Aaron, because this occurred to me over the weekend.
Yeah.
Because it feels like a very deliberate Sam Raimi thing to do. Do you think Sam Raimi deliberately chose Multiverse of Madness as a title, knowing that it could be the acronym of MOM? Not solely based on the content of the movie, but because the release weekend was going to coincide with fucking Mother's Day.
I'm so glad you asked that.
I don't think so, because he was brought on after they'd announced the movie.
Okay.
Remember, he replaced the director.
Okay. Who did he replace?
I forgot.
Someone that we don't care about because he got replaced.
Yeah, sure. He got replaced. I do think Marvel / Disney intentionally, I don't think about the mom part, but I think considering a lot of the themes, I think they intentionally like, well, if we're going to move it, let's fucking move it to Mother's Day.
Yeah. Yeah, that does feel.
Yeah.
It just felt like a very Sam Raimi joke.
Oh, there's a lot of them in here.
It's nothing but. I think this is so we'll talk about this without dipping into any spoilers. So if you're concerned about us dropping hints about anything, we're not gonna. I do think this is probably I did enjoy the movie, and I think it is one of the tightest of Raimi's productions that I've seen.
I don't know about that. He does tend to sometimes have a problem when he's given a big budget, because I think, and this is a younger Raimi, he'd be a little nervous to go and do the kind of camera work he loves to do. Like his Spider-Man is great, but it doesn't quite feel like a Raimi movie. Spider-Man 2 does.
Spider-Man 2 is a Raimi movie.
And I think it's the best out of those anyway. A lot of, not just because of him, but performances and story. I think so for me, Multiverse of Madness has a lot of weird story jumps where I would go, huh, But those moments are saved by just like, like a Raimi thing. Like, oh, never mind. Because it's like, it's almost like he knew where the narrative would have people going, what? Oh shit! Like for Raimi like fans, especially if you're Evil Dead fans, like this has the Force POV. Evil Dead, you know what that is. It's the yeah, it has that.
Mhm.
I mean, it's got all the Dutch angles. It's got his love of doing a montage with superimposed images. It's got all that shit. And he really seems to kick it into gear whenever there's a time wherever in terms of plot, would go, well, wait a minute. Why just, okay, there it goes. I will say, I am honestly shocked, especially considering, I think this has to do with the power of the mouse and Kevin Feige. But considering Raimi's relationship with the MPAA, which is very bad, by the way, they are not buddies. I am shocked this got PG-13. This isn't a spoiler per se, but there's like a lot of exploding bodies and heads in this movie. Which I love, but I went, how the fuck did they get away with that in a Marvel movie?
Things get pretty murdery.
They get really murdery.
I think the MPA's relationship, they dropped the second A, by the way.
Okay.
They're just the Motion Picture Association.
Okay.
Their reach is widespread.
And they're not actually artists, because that's what it used to be, right? Motion Picture Arts Association.
I thought it was the Motion Picture Association of America.
Oh, you're right.
I thought,
yeah.
I think whatever relationship that Raimi has with the MPA, that Disney's relationship with the MPA supersedes.
Yeah. Yeah, and for folks who don't know, they gave Evil Dead an X rating, which in 1979/80, I could kind of see it. They tried to give Evil Dead 2 an X rating. So he got pissed off and just re-released it unreleased or unrated or whatever with a different bullshit. He literally created a fake company to do that. And then Army of Darkness, which is basically Jason and the Argonauts with Bruce Campbell, they also tried to give an X rating to. A movie that literally, anyway, him and the MPA are not buddies.
So here's the thing, though. Like, if you've ever looked at part of how they rate movies, the MPA, it makes as much sense as the Comics Code Authority.
Oh, yeah. A little sidebar. If you ever get a chance, find the documentary. This film is not yet rated. It's fascinating and infuriating. Norm just...
It almost seems like there's not really a logical system for, censoring stuff based on your puritanical bullshit.
There's not, and it's literally a group of suburban soccer moms that make up the rating.
Oh, fuck that.
Like 100%. Anyway, back to this movie. Yeah, I mean, I loved it, but I mean, I always say that with a caveat in that I can't think of a Sam Raimi movie I don't love. I have some that I'm like, okay. But I'm pretty much in the bag for anything he does. But for me, the story does kind of bounce around a lot at times where I'm like, I don't quite understand why they're doing what they're doing. I feel like this is a movie that is 100% works because of the directing and the performances.
It is very superficial story-wise.
Yeah.
And that seems to be... Go ahead.
I think that feeds into like my biggest complaint is in terms of the antagonist. I think it's lazy writing or storytelling. I'm not sure like exactly how you would coin it, but I won't even say that I'm like disappointed in it. I have mixed feelings about their choices in the antagonist and how that all plays out.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I think there's a big theme in this movie of accepting and owning up and reacting to your own personal mistakes and responsibilities. which is very much something, at least as they've been presented in the MCU, is something that both Doctor Strange and Wanda have had to deal with. They have both done shit that causes repercussions, and neither of them have really owned up to it on a personal level. I don't mean society, but to themselves.
I don't know that they've. I don't think they've owned up to it on a societal level either. But that's
no.
Yeah.
I think that means that the three of us should, go have a beer and talk more about that.
We probably should have tried to do that before tonight, but I would still be interested in doing that.
Yeah, I mean, thought about that too, but I kind of like having our takes be fresh when we talk about it.
That's true.
We could bring a micro recorder and just record our audio and upload it as like a bonus content later.
Oh, I don't know.
Or we just do it for ourselves. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's that. I think if we revisit it again, and talk about, right before Thor: Love and Thunder comes out in July, we can revisit Multiverse of Madness and talk about all of the content of it, because people have seen the movie by then.
Yeah.
Or we could do like we did with Shang-Chi, is after it's been released for streaming, and we can do a more spoiler conversation. There's so much we can't say right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it hits Disney Plus the week before Love and Thunder.
It probably will. More than likely.
It's doing huge numbers, so
good. I mean, overall, it's a very fun movie.
Oh, it's definitely fun. I feel like some people might be disappointed, even though there's just a Delta 88 sized amount of cameos in this movie. I think people kind of thought there might be more.
Where? How would
I don't know where. I think they were expecting Into this or Far From Home levels of stuff, of different actors playing Doctor Strange.
Oh, I do
stuff like that.
I am happy that I am going to dispel this right now, though, that there were two major fan theories that kept getting surfaced around or circulated around, and I'm glad that neither one of them had any truth to them. They carried no weight. One was the appearance of Tobey Maguire coming back to play Spider-Man and then getting killed by the Scarlet Witch. Total bullshit.
I didn't know that rumor. Yeah, that would be dumb.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
And the other was Tom Cruise playing Superior Iron Man.
I remember that one.
Thank you.
Yeah. Also bullshit.
Yeah. I actually don't think he'd ever want to kill off the Toby Peter Parker, because deep down, I kind of think Raimi hopes he gets to do a Spider-Man 4. He's hinted at it a few times of we could do an older and married Peter Parker. And he even kind of said, he says everything's on the table now with what they do. So
yep, everything is.
I've heard a lot of people say that after this, they would really love it if Marvel just walked away from multiverse stuff, because between what Marvel has done and then the advent of Everything Everywhere, you can't really top that, and you shouldn't try to. It's perfect, it's great. Don't beat the horse. You've effectively killed it. Good job. Stop right there.
I think they have to introduce the idea so they can create the new timeline. I think they're kind of all in on that now. And I think we're going to see it a lot with Quantum Mania, which is now next year, I believe.
Yes, it is. It's next February.
Yeah. Especially with them kind of dropping Kang as the potential new bad. You show there's multiverses, you show there's multiple timelines, and then you have to bring them together. So that's kind of what I think they're going to do.
The other thing is Marvel doesn't own the concept of a multiverse. That existed before Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
In media, that it's certainly they're not the first ones to do it.
Especially
I don't. Sorry, go ahead.
So especially in comic form, for a long time, Marvel did not like to admit they had multiple universes. That's your dad's old DC comics that does that shit. That was literally the attitude of Marvel through the 70s. But the music I thought was fantastic. I loved Elfman's score. It was all over the place, and a few times like it would get jarringly into horror for a minute.
Mhm.
There was like a metal riff. It would just go. I'm like, why the fuck is okay? That's cool. All right.
He's. I love that Danny Elfman is getting yet another resurgence.
Yes.
Not that he's ever seemingly gone away.
No.
He just every 5 to 10 years, other people go, "Oh my god, this Danny Elfman guy is great." I'm like, "Yep, yes, he is. Welcome to the party, kid. It's a dead man's party. Who could ask for more?"
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Like this mid-60s dude was like ended up being one of the best parts of like Coachella.
It was Billie Eilish and Danny Elfman. They ruled Coachella.
Oh wow!
Yep.
That is like together. Like they did.
No,
like,
they did. That's all that
They just
anyone
both-
talked about was Billie Eilish's performances and Danny Elfman's performances. Like the absolute youngest performer at Coachella and the absolute oldest performer at Coachella.
By the way, 65, Homeboy's kind of cut too.
Yep. And
really?
has more tattoos than he did when he was I think the last big live performance that he did was Oingo Boingo's farewell tour in LA.
Yeah.
He can't very well have fewer.
I didn't expect him to get more. Like he got a lot.
Yeah. Well, even by his own admission, like he's dealing with his hearing issues. That live rock shows were getting harder and harder for him.
Oh wow, yeah, he is covered in tattoos and relatively ripped.
Yeah,
especially for his age. God, how old is he?
Especially when you think of Danny Elfman, you just think like, oh, the nerdy redhead, like do 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 do. Until you hear like
65.
Yeah.
I know, like you see like non-stage pictures of him, and he just looks like a regular, late middle-aged guy.
Yeah. I kind of knew that Danny was going to come back when I fucking listened to his COVID lockdown album.
Fuck me.
Which is him just dumping his heart out onto music, and it's intense.
I still have not made it through the whole album. I think I've gotten through like 4 or 5 the last time I listened to it, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have the space for this.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. Like I heard people say it, oh, it's intense. And I'm like, oh no, nope. I don't have I didn't have the bandwidth for it. Yeah. It's fantastic, but it is overwhelming.
Yeah.
It is the most Danny Elfman that Danny Elfman has ever Danny Elfman.
It really is.
I need to write that down so I remember to check it out, because this is far from the first time people have been like,
yeah,
yo.
Big mess.
Oh yeah, big mess.
Yeah, and then he put out a single this year with Trent Reznor.
Yeah,
it's like the fuck. It's like, oh, that wasn't. I didn't realize I needed that in my life either. But there you go.
I will also add on back to Doctor Strange, that Bruce Campbell cameo. It is the most blatant bit of Sam Raimi fan service to the fans that he's ever done with a Bruce Campbell cameo. And
I feel like that is the one cameo that we can mention, as it is a Sam Raimi movie, and of course Bruce Campbell's going to be in it.
Yeah.
If you didn't expect Bruce Campbell, you've never seen a Sam Raimi movie before.
Right. He basically goes full on Evil Dead 2 Evil Hand Bruce Campbell. This is not a spoiler. I expected him to do one of his flips. I expected him to grab himself by his own haunches and flip himself over, but then I forgot that Bruce Campbell is also like 65 years old, and he is not doing that anymore.
No, he shouldn't. He'll break a hip.
Yeah. Yeah, Norm mentioned Pizza Papa always gets his money. So even the name Pizza Papa is literally a 1% joke to people that have watched the fucking commentary of Evil Dead 2.
Of course it is.
It's an inside joke to that. And then stay for the end of the credits also. Because we get a full-on fucking fourth wall break.
There are 2 post-credit sequence scenes. Please stay for both of them.
Out of the auditorium, where I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That was only one. like
Yep.
stolen empty seat.
There's 2.
I knew I had enough time to go to the bathroom.
Sure.
Like saw the first one, I was like, okay, I know they don't show it again
Like,
until
okay, gotta go pee.
until after the Teamsters logo, so I gotta go pee. Yeah, it was exactly it. I had fun. But it's for me though. It's a Raimi movie, so of course I'm gonna have fun.
Sure.
But it was great. It was fun. Pretty horrific at times, which I approved of.
Well, I think we can move from that into another portion of the Marvel universe that we can be a little more talkative about.
Yeah, we can do that. We can
And
jump
that
into
is that would be the end, and we can kind of talk about all of Moon Knight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 6 episodes.
That was weird. That's
I'm going to say this right now. I didn't see it coming, and I am glad for its inclusion. The character of Layla becoming the avatar of Tawret and becoming Marvel's first Egyptian superhero.
yeah, the Scarlet Scarab, I think, is the character.
Did she get a name?
I think they're officially calling her the Scarlet Scarab now. Yeah.
Okay.
And usually when they name them, that means they're going to show up somewhere.
She's 100% got to show up in more places. The showrunner was really happy with the reception. I felt like her whole introduction scene was both perfect for the character and for the show, and provided meta commentary. So I'm looking forward to the actress's name is May Kalamawi. Am I butchering that? Calamawy. Kalamawi. Okay. She's great.
That's how I would pronounce it.
And I love that costume too.
And like, I love the fact that it's like, great. This was a great way to introduce a brand new character. Put her on the Avengers.
It just occurred to me how much she kind of reminds me of that costume. I should say the costume, not the actress or the character. Just that costume reminds me of Hawk Girl from Legends of Tomorrow, the very first season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not all that shocking because the Hawkman and Hawk Girl origins always finds their way back to Egypt. So
yep,
that
I was
does
gonna say they
also
were
to
Middle
Egypt.
Eastern too. So
yeah. And I mean,
specifically Egyptian.
And
okay,
Hawkman is in Black Adam, right?
Hawkman is in Black Adam.
Yeah. So now we know how those wings should look. So don't actually, his wings are a little different, but yeah. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I thought that was like a really cool way to sort of like turn it around at the end.
Yep. And she also did a great little performance where she kept switching back and forth between being Layla and being Tawret, having the conversation with herself. It's like,
that was super
fantastic.
Cool. In the middle of all the chaos too.
Yep.
It's great.
But overall, I agree with Aaron. Moon Knight was weird, but it wasn't the full on weird it could have been in places.
Yeah, it's funny, when it was over, I found myself wishing it was more, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The stakes for me never felt. It's almost feel like Moon Knight, the writers couldn't decide if they wanted to tell this personal story that maybe taps into mental health with a superhero vibe, or do they want to go with end of the world Egyptian kaiju fight?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the story got lost somewhere in the middle for me. And being the the nerd, I wanted more Moon Knight.
I think considering, or in comparison to Multiverse of Madness, Moon Knight was very similar in that the story at times felt very lacking, but my interest in the show was cultivated by the fact that the performances were fantastic.
Yeah.
Like so much has been said about what Oscar Isaac did on screen, and that 5th episode really just kind of hit like a sledgehammer. Ethan Hawke was great as Harrow. May Kalamaui as Layla was great. Like the central cast was very good. F. Murray Abraham as Khonshu, the voice of Khonshu. He was just a dick the entire time.
Total dick.
Man,
it was great. I loved it. It was so good.
I do agree, though. Much like my review of The Northman, it was a lot of different elements, and I really could have done with more of any single one of them, like as a focus.
Yeah.
But overall, I did enjoy it.
I'll
watch fucking anything Oscar Isaacs is in.
I mean, yeah, that's true. But I mean, you're right. Like, one episode, it's the quirkiness of Mark Spector and him dealing with the voices in his head. And is he mad, or is there really an Egyptian god vigilante living inside him? And then it kind of becomes like a weird Indiana Jones movie. And then it decides, no, this is gonna be a world-ending thing, because if the other god comes back, she's gonna prejudge and kill billions or whatever. But now we're gonna spend an episode in an asylum that is in his head, and deal with some personal grief. Like, all of those are valid stories, but all of those on their own are their own arc.
Each one needs its own time to really make an impact.
And I felt like Moon Knight never committed to any of them.
And I guess to a degree that in and of itself is part of the course for Moon Knight. Moon Knight has never been, like we've talked about on the show before, there are people who are familiar with Moon Knight and know that he's a comic book character in the Marvel Universe, and he wears all white and does superhero stuff. And then they're fucking Moon Knight fans.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And
are you saying that this show was intentionally schizophrenic?
Maybe?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I want to give them that much credit, though. I like the idea that of that being true.
And the other thing I'll add, and this kind of might sound like, kind of fanish nitpicking, but some of the earlier MCU movies where the world was at risk, I could kind of buy why the big guns don't show up. I feel like we've hit a stage in the MCU where the Disney Plus shows almost need to scale it back a little bit in terms of world-ending events, because there were 2 kaiju fighting in Cairo. And it was really hard for me to imagine that a couple of Avengers are not going to show up on that. And I know that seems like kind of dumb, but you're expecting me to have a certain amount of disbelief within the MCU, and stuff like that makes it a little bit trickier for me. I'm not saying we couldn't have had a cool god fight, but not when they're 400 feet tall over Cairo.
That's when those are the times that I'm like, cool, where's your timeline?
Right, but
if you show me the timeline of where that takes place, and then I can go, oh, that's because A, B, and C were all off-world. D was doing this other thing. So that's why none of them got involved, and they're the only ones that could have gotten there in a second.
Sure.
Like, Thor's off-world. Captain Marvel is always off-world.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's just, I just always have those weird moments of like, all right.
Technically, Wong could have showed up depending on where he was at the time.
Right.
And what was going on with him.
Yeah.
Because he can, like, he and everyone else in Kamartaj can just sling ring and be right there.
Oh, man, really quick, jumping back to that really fast.
Sure.
Well, never mind. It's a spoiler. Forget it.
Don't do that.
We'll say it after the show. I'll tell you guys after the show.
Okay. But, like, Sam's great. Sam would have to take a jet from the U.S. to Egypt. That's still going to take some time.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, you're right. Maybe something that establishes when these take place would help a lot.
That's why it's like I just want a timeline. Just show me on a timeline where these things are taking place. Like I've been piecing together all of last year, so it's like Spider-Man took the most, like, that one movie took place over a 6-month fucking period.
Right.
Well, key points in a 6-month period, I
Yeah.
should say.
But it's good. I don't know if we're gonna get a season 2. I know there was a weird snafu where, like, the day it came out, like, the official Marvel Twitter was like, stream the series finale now, and like 10 minutes later they had deleted that and reposted, see the season finale now. Jason Isaac, Oscar Isaacs has kind of hinted that he's done, like, with Marvel and stuff, but you dangle enough money and a decent script and you'll get almost anybody back.
Well, it depends on why he said he's done.
So my guess would be, after everything that he went through with Disney and Star Wars, when they came to him and said, "Hey, we want you to play this," it's like, cool, I am contracting for that many that many episodes for this show, and everything else we have to go back to the table.
Also, I'm going to be the EP on this show too.
Yeah. And they went, okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's like, and then who do you want to be the villain? I'm going to go talk to Ethan.
Right.
He's the one that brought Ethan Hawke in.
He's also the reason why we have Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian.
Thank you, Oscar Isaacs.
Yeah, no, he had, like, yeah.
Yeah, continue.
That was it. Like, Pedro Pascal wasn't sure he wanted to do it, and Oscar Isaacs like, yeah, you do. Just go play the damn. Yeah, you do. Apparently, it was something to do, like, you love Boba Fett, and he's like, you want to do it, and he's like, all right, I'll go do
it. Well, speaking of universes where one would really like a timeline of when and where everything happens,
Mm-hmm.
we want to talk about Picard and Strange New Worlds.
So now we're going to move from the Marvel universe to the Star Trek universe. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, yes.
This will be spoiler filled.
This one will be. Are we doing Picard also?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to start with Picard, if we can.
Yeah, since it's over
because
now.
I would like to save Strange New Worlds for the
big
most delectable of desserts. Oh my god!
I might watch that again tonight.
Okay.
For like my 4th time. What?
Keep it in your pants, boys.
That's not it. Just
that's not it at all.
There are so few things that give me utter pure joy with no drawbacks, and that's one of them.
Did I not reference it as dessert? Any noises that I'm making are because I'm thinking of it as a chocolate cake.
Yeah, I made a yummy sound.
Savory pie.
I think you guys are very horny for dessert, is what I'm saying. Like what I saw and what I heard just now.
No.
That's not the descriptor I would use.
Let's carry on.
Okay.
He's not that quirky.
She derails us this time.
I did. I really did.
Okay, so Picard. I just want to say something really quick with Picard. I fucking called that Wesley shit from a mile away.
Yep. That we talked
months
about
ago
on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I really could have done without.
So that Denise, I've talked to a few people about this, and I get the general impression that Star Trek fans, even fans of Picard, are like, well, I'm not coming back for season 3.
I did read at least one review that said, I will not be back. I didn't dislike what has happened so far. I just don't like where this is going. They didn't actually name Wesley on purpose, but yes, I have seen that.
I didn't have a problem with Wesley showing up. It felt very disconnected from the rest of the story. That was my problem with it.
Right.
And to the degree that it felt more like that was Will Wheaton playing Will Wheaton rather than Will Wheaton playing Wesley Crusher.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was a big part of my annoyance, because I don't feel like I have a problem with Wesley Crusher, the character, outside of like, okay, fine, he's kind of a smarmy teenage boy. Like, who isn't annoyed by that to at least some small degree? But that was not Wesley Crusher. That was just Will Wheaton being extremely Will Wheaton, and that's not something that I generally care for in general.
yeah. And part of it might be is they apparently didn't have any rehearsal time.
Oh, well, okay. I'll give
It
him
was
that.
like, hey,
Okay.
we've written this scene for you. He knew a long time ago that he was going to become the Traveler.
Mm.
But like they rehearsed it the day they shot it. Like that, he's admitted that they've said like it was great and intense. He's like, but no, it was a 1-day thing.
Oh, jeez.
And I guess, admittedly, also, all of the other actors who portrayed a character on TNG were always adults, and so they don't need to necessarily evolve those characters to reprise them again, because they're still adults. But the Wesley Crusher character was more or less a child and is now definitely an adult, and it's hard enough to like come back into a character that you haven't embodied for a long time, but if you're also supposed to be very different by that point.
Sure. I think there's a part of that too that I don't think they could have gotten him to do this, but if they had shaved him, or if he had shaved, that would have made a visual difference. It would have felt less like it was Will Wheaton playing Will Wheaton, and would have felt more like Will Wheaton playing Wesley Crusher.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see where they go with it. I mean, that's why I think he's going to have a bigger part in season 3. Which is why when everyone was so mad, I was like, guys, he's going to be in season 3. He's going to be the Traveler. Like, come on.
I don't know what we're going to get with season 3 at this point.
I don't either.
Like,
part of my gut tells me that not all of them make it out alive either. But who knows?
Yeah, like there is definitely some. I enjoyed Picard season 2 overall. I was not. It's like I enjoyed the season finale while I watched it, but it, like, upon reflection, it's like that was definitely very weak.
Yeah, it's more like 3 little epilogues than an actual finale.
Yeah.
There were so many elements to this season, and then everything gets wrapped up very tidily and yes, rather hurried, and thus not very well.
And that's the same problem that I feel season 1 had as well. Like they were already hamstringed by the fact that you could tell after, when they started shooting that show, or season 1, the way they were telling the story, it's like they're killing Picard at the end of the series.
Yeah.
And something changed at a studio level where they're like, oh no, you're not. That you're coming back for a second and third season. It's like, well, but we're gonna kill the kid.
Yeah,
okay.
They're like, no, you need to fix
But then
that.
they have to slap on a way to change that at the very last.
Yep. And they did, and it felt like they did that. And all of, like, it's the same thing that happened. Like, what's wrong with season 1 is the same thing that's wrong with season 2, and that is they have 9 episodes of setup, and then try to do 1 episode of wrap up. It's like, stop doing that.
That actually
you
seems
need
to be
get better at pacing. Yeah.
That's the same thing I see, actually, even though I love Discovery. Discovery does that too.
Yep.
They will ramp up.
They get so big, like they have to keep explaining and understanding what's going on, and then there's just like this little bottleneck to solve the problem.
Yeah, and like they'll both ramp up really early, like present like one hell of a problem, and they go for a few episodes, and you're going and going. And I feel like both writers' rooms then do this thing where they're like, okay, now let's pull it in and remember it's about character. So now let's do these deep character dives, which are good, but you spend like almost half your show doing that. And then it's, oh shit. Okay, now let's The characters are in the middle of their personal issues, are coming out of it. Bam, let's hit them with the crisis again and remind them all why they started going through this in the first place. And it always makes... I've had this with like almost every season finale of Discovery where I'm like, except maybe season 2 where they actually gave themselves 2 episodes to do it. I've been like, really? Like, and you're just gonna... Okay, I guess. Like the win actually never feels earned to me.
That's fair.
You know, stopping Sung in Picard, I don't know. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, good. You did it. All right. Like, I don't know. I didn't feel like there were any real ramifications other than wanting to do the next tease for what's coming next, which was him seeing Project Khan. And they're not going to do anything with that in Picard season 3. I think that's literally an Easter egg to Enterprise fans because you know that the next thing the Soong family does, they get into augments.
And yes, they do. And it's also... We can talk about this more when we get into Strange New Worlds because it brings that very specific thing up. But it is part of them fixing the Star Trek timeline so that we are still in the Star Trek timeline.
Right.
Which is unnerving.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's well acted. I know that Bean's not the biggest fan of Q, but I found that ending to be very emotional and appropriate. I liked it.
I had zero problem with this iteration of Q. The things that I never liked about the Q character was what a fucking Muppet he was. Just like almost zany, you know? And like forcing these like alternate realities, but it's all wacky and goofy. Like, oh, we're all in a mariachi band now. Like this is like unnecessarily silly. This particular Q, who basically describes himself like, you know, compares himself to the gods, is a very you know, he has a lot of gravitas about him, and maybe that's only because he's dying, and so it like takes some of the fun out of his day. But it was a presentation of that type of character that I appreciate much more.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The, you know, you matter to me, you know, you will not die alone.
It was a very touching goodbye that they had. Yes. I also really enjoyed that.
Yeah. There was a neat little behind the scenes video when they had wrapped the final scene between John Delancey and Patrick Stewart. The cameras are still rolling, and you can tell Delancey is emotional. And he talks about the day he filmed his first scene at Encounter at Farpoint. Roddenberry pulled him aside and said, I hope you're ready for what you've gotten. He told me, I hope you're ready for what you've gotten yourself into, because this is going to follow you for most of your life. And then you know, Delancey says, and now we cut to now where it's finally done. He's like almost 35, 40, Jesus, long time ago now. So I that was really pointed kind of behind the scenes moment that I liked. Norm mentioned they telegraphed the Girardi scene in the beginning pretty heavily, not that well. I don't know. I think it was an intentional telegraph. I don't think they were trying to be sneaky with it. I appreciate this new evolution of the Borg.
A kinder, gentler Borg.
So it like, if I had been writing Star Trek, that was the direction I actually would have taken the Borg. That's the direction I would have taken it, in that if you want to stop the Borg, you can't do it by fighting them. You have to explain to them. You have to basically go, no, continue assimilating, continue doing this. Just ask. If it becomes an offer, then it's something that people want to do.
Yeah, once the Borg stopped being... Because when they're first introduced, they're introduced more like a force of nature. You don't negotiate with the hurricane. You just survive the hurricane till it fucking comes through again. And I like that about him. It made him terrifying. creating the Queen gave them ego.
Mm-hmm.
And then you couldn't make them this unrelenting force because now they're just the boogeyman. Now they're literally just Michael Myers, and that is less interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
This, I feel like, from narratively, this evolution had to happen if you wanted to make the Borg a relevant character in Star Trek.
Sure.
And I like how they handled it.
And it moves this notion forward of the whole premise of what Starfleet is trying to do is make things better and not have everything have to be resolved through conflict.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is when you do that, doesn't make for interesting television.
Right.
Which is why they're always this monster that's coming to get you. It's like, okay, that's fine. But in my head, when I was like, well, if I was in Star Trek, I would have done this with the Borg because that makes them, like, if it becomes a choice, then that changes their ability to grow. And maybe they become more popular than the Federation. It's like, yeah, I could join the Federation. They squabble a lot, and there's a lot of infighting. Or I could just join the Borg because they're just going around doing the same thing. But
Maybe.
Everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, potentially. But then you have room for like, but are you actually having your own voice? But yeah, it's like, yeah.
And that starts getting into what do people need? Like, the only reason that Jurati was able to make any sort of headway with the Queen was that she was able to find what commonality they had emotionally. So, like, yeah, I don't know.
I thought that was really intriguing because I'm not going to say like that, or my memory is shit, so I can't really remember exactly. But it seems to me like they took the character Jurati and like how like sad and lonely she was, and like I don't remember it being quite so big a thing in the first season, but I do remember it being there. And then this season, it seems to be this thing that is like this massive weight on her from scene one, essentially. And
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I do think that was, while it wasn't a focus, information about the character was there and informed Alison Pill's performance, because there are decisions that she made and things that she did that a person who has a constant hole in themselves that they are always trying to fill. It's like, yeah, that consistently in storytelling, the person who is always trying to fill that empty void within themselves are the ones that make the worst fucking decisions. But then they also have the capacity to make the best fucking decisions.
Right.
Yeah, you're right, because she basically became like a fucking double agent in season one. So never mind, I take it back. She was always that amount of sad and lonely. And while in one way, like she has now resolved that problem for herself and is essentially getting a happy ending, it kind of dead ends the character for the show.
Which is why she's not coming back.
Yeah, she's not coming back.
And someone was saying earlier, they're like, oh, they're going to kill off all of the existing cast members and just replace them with old TNG characters.
Which is an assumption. So,
yeah, okay.
They're not.
Why.
So, what's his name stays behind.
Santiago
stays behind. Elnor
is not coming back for the second season.
Elnor's not coming back, but he's got a job. Like, you don't have to. There's no reason to have him.
Right.
There has been no confirmation that Rafi and Seven are not coming back. In fact, Sherry Ryan has pretty much hinted, like, "Oh, you'll see us in season 3."
Yeah, those two are coming back. Issa Briones is not coming back.
Right, which you don't need her.
But that's part of what's frustrating people is they got to like these new characters and they wanted more of their stories. It's like that I get. Their stories apparently are done.
Yeah.
For now.
I don't know
Yeah.
that I think the only character that I'm like sad to not get more of would be Elnor, because he's very much one type of way when he's introduced in season 1, and then he leaves that environment, and so he starts to change, or we see that he has started to change in season 2, but we don't get much of that before he's gone. And while the actor gets to perform different iterations of himself throughout the rest of the season, that's not our core Elnor. And now if we're not going to see that anymore, well, that's a bummer. But Girardi, fine. Issa Briones, I can't remember her character's name.
Soji.
Her arc is essentially done. I don't like they've established what she's often doing now in the world, and that's fine.
I don't think this, had COVID not happened, I don't think this is the direction this show is going to go. Because we would have gotten season 2 and season 3 in 2020 and 2021. Instead of getting season 2 in 2021 and them saying, oh, that entire gap that we weren't doing anything, that's when we did all this backstory and now we're moving on.
Right.
So they would have put that on screen, and if they had done that, then yes, I would still be on board with then it would have just been the continued adventures of the crew of the La Serena. Because we wouldn't have seen Rios rejoining Starfleet, or Rafi, or Elnor. All of them would still be a ragtag group of misfits on that ship. When we're reintroduced to them at the beginning of season 2, it's like, oh, okay.
Some time has passed.
And Aaron's right. All of those stories are suddenly already told. The people whose stories weren't finished were Rafi's, Seven's, and Picard's.
Yeah. And there's no look. The fact is that Trek is Paramount's 500-pound gorilla when it comes to streaming. Like, that is why Paramount Plus is doing, its numbers are so good. There's other shows for sure, but it is Star Trek. There is no reason in a couple years from now they don't. I mean, I don't know how season 3, obviously, if Picard will even start, let alone end. But there's no reason why, in some world, if people really fall in love with Seven and Rafi together, there's no reason why we don't get Star Trek Stargazer.
Right.
And because she's gotten a field commission, she is captain of the Stargazer. Admiral Picard did that. We've never had a Star Trek where there's a married couple that are co-commanders of a ship. And like, what kind of fucking tension does that have when like the captain says like, I'm going to beam down to this planet, and your second, your number 1/wife is like, the hell you are.
We also have never had a Borg member of Starfleet, right?
We've flash forward in Enterprise.
Say that again. I missed it.
Remember Cable?
In Flash Forward?
On the Enterprise J, I do believe there was a Borg character on the bridge on a quick.
Sure, but
that doesn't count.
We didn't see any crew members on the Enterprise J.
That's true.
We only saw the Enterprise J. We never saw any of the crew. The significance is that, yes, the 7 of 9 is finally getting what she had tried to do on her own. Well, not on her own. She had like
Admiral
Janeway. I almost said Captain Mulgrew, and I'm like, well, that's not right.
I mean, I'm sure she's fine with that.
Yes, I'm sure she is.
But yeah, they talked about it in the last episode, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe the second to last. Like, no, well, Captain Janeway, went to bat for me, but it just never happened, and so I moved on to other things.
Yep. Like Jerry Ryan looked great sitting center seat on a Starfleet vessel. It's like, yep, no, that looks good. That looks good on you. Try that chip on. Yep, that looks great.
Yeah. Which means we could get Elnor again.
We could.
Yeah.
I don't think that, like Patrick Stewart has said, and granted, you have to take, like, some of these actors are paid to misdirect, as I am often reminded about everyone that works for Marvel. But he said it's like, we are not just doing TNG season 8. That's not what this is going to be. If that's what you're expecting, that's not what's going to be on screen. And not all these reunions are going to be great or they're not going to be happy reunions for the characters. So I don't see it as they're replacing the entire cast with the cast of TNG. I think it's still going to be centered on Picard. And now that he seems to be free of his own demons, this will probably be the last flight of Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah. And look, for me, just personally as a fan, here's the thing. Nemesis was a trash send-off to that cast. So if this is their version of one last time to ride off into the sunset, maybe they don't all make it. If you tell me a good story, okay.
Great.
Great.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it. And we don't necessarily... let me take that back. I don't necessarily know because I haven't done a lot of reading on it. But like, just because they've said that these actors are coming back for the show, like we don't know like to what degree. Are all of them in all the episodes? Are they the main cast now, or is this on top of whatever's already going on?
Yeah,
they've never said that. They've just said that they're all coming back. These specific 6 actors are coming.
Yeah,
and it's like, great, you have Brent Spiner coming back. He's not playing Data.
Nope.
Data's gone.
Yep.
He either plays the Elder Soong brother, or they foolishly we dumped Data's engrams into B4. Like, don't do that.
They're not going to do that.
Please don't do that.
What was that? Like, is that a tweet or something, or maybe like a Reddit? No, it has to have been Twitter. Where it's like, how come every time a Soong character, is written into a Star Trek show, they always look like Brent Spiner? And Brent Spiner replied, because I acted for all of those parts.
That's funny.
Pretty great. Well, should we jump into? We don't have a whole lot of time now. Into the Strange New Worlds, into dessert.
Yeah.
If you've been sitting on wondering, should I jump into Strange New Worlds? Fucking watch Strange New Worlds.
I think it's still at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes with like 28 critics.
It's
ridiculous.
It is these, like, for every person that says, I don't know about Discovery, I don't know about Picard, I don't know about Lower Decks, these aren't my Star Treks. It's like, cool, this one is everybody's Star Trek. Good God, I recommended watching this to my mother. I said, you should watch this. If you want something to watch it.
It finally dropped to 98%.
There you go. I think, it just right off the bat, it has done a very good job of like reminding you of classic, like original series elements, while also making it like fun and dynamic for a modern audience, as they say,
without being wildly problematic.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it'll make fans happy.
No massive big bad that's gonna like eat up the whole season has been presented. Not to say that won't still happen, but that's not what has been done in episode 1.
No, I don't think there's gonna. They've said it's episodic. I don't think it's gonna be a big bad. I think the quote big bad will be character growth of the characters overcoming their personal big bad. So Pike knowing his future.
There's two
Lieutenant Singh dealing with her trauma of the Gorn, Uhura having the pressure of being a genius, and all the. I mean, there's going to be this run through line for the characters, but it's going to be personal. It will not be the world as the galaxy is ending. That's good.
I think that one of the things that I personally loved about Strange New Worlds, and there's a lot to love, is that it followed the the storytelling idiom of show don't tell. The way the actors portrayed their characters on screen, even if they had 5 lines or they had full monologues, you could tell that they took the Bible of their character, embraced all of it, became that, and imbued that into their performance. I know that Pike and Mabenga have known each other for years because they hugged. Just that simple act. I know that he is a warm and open and friendly doctor because of the way he talks to his patients, and that he knows exactly how to gain their trust. His like the pointing at the eyes between him and Laan, the comment about "this is why you're my favorite" quip to Chapel. It's like, you are your character. You know who your character is, and suddenly I know who your character is.
Yeah.
Lots of really good character establishments.
Yeah, it's like I know Ortega's is a fucking hotshot pilot. I just like,
and she's so annoyed every time she gets the center seat. It's a political crisis. She's like, every time.
Like those little moments. It's like, well, we haven't seen it. It's like, yeah, but they're showing it to you. They are showing it to you through their performance. Their performance is, they got the right actors in the right roles, and they're putting together these performances that are showing us without giving us all of this extra backstory. It's like, oh no, I know you.
Yeah.
Like
I loved at the end Uhura just saying cool. I saw something like, would we still say cool? And I was like, yeah, we probably do. Like, English, the language is constantly evolving and coming back, or whatever. You know, we probably will, you know. But then that pipe, and then she looks apologetic because it's not a, you know, she's probably thinking like, oh, I'm a cadet and I probably shouldn't be saying cool on the bridge. And Pike looks at her like, he doesn't say it, but he basically goes, no, it is cool.
It's cool.
You know? It is cool.
Her interaction with an alien in the turbo lift,
it's wonderful.
It's like
so fucking slick. Like that is a all of that part was like that is a crew that like that they run together almost like a machine.
But like they told us in the scene that we introduced, it's like, oh, you're a genius, you're a whiz kid,
you're the girl genius that I'm getting.
And then they showed us what that was. It's like, oh, that means she's that good with languages that she knows exactly how to talk to someone from another planet and put them at ease within seconds.
Yeah, like
it just tells me that
no advanced preparation whatsoever.
Which makes me think that the moment she knew what planet they were going toward, she was like, well, okay, I'm going to study. So when we get there, if I end up having to have literally political small talk, I can do this, and it became a bigger emergency. But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, right. It solidifies the fact that, oh, you're right. Uhura is a genius. Great.
I loved seeing Chapel be this ready for action, passionate about her job, rather than someone who's just always seems to be pining for another character on the show. It's like, no, this is what I've been longing to see in Christine Chapel. Is who is Christine Chapel? Now we're getting to see it.
She might be my favorite character. I don't know though. That's tough. But I really do. I do enjoy her like quippy, like none of your bullshit attitude.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. Is it safe? Almost always.
Almost always. Did you miss the part where I said this was going to hurt?
Yeah. I mean, I know eventually they're going to lean into the attraction that she has for Spock, but I think it's going to actually feel more natural in this because she's going to see a kindred spirit in someone who was relentlessly curious.
It's also going to feel somewhat reciprocal. Like Ethan Peck's Spock is very much in touch with his human side.
Yeah, this is pre-Kirk Spock, which is it kind of how he was in the cage. That Spock smiled. Something's going to happen where Spock's going to go harder on the Vulcan side between Pike and Kirk.
And
Samuel Kirk.
That was a great
So
switch.
good.
That was so good.
I forgot to find out who that is.
Sam Kirk is James Kirk's older brother.
Older brother. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is canon. You only see him dead in Operation Annihilate, where he's killed by flying vomit.
Yep.
Like they show up and he dead.
Yep.
Cool.
And
cool.
in the show, it was Shatner. They just put a shitty mustache on him when they just left him over really quick. And he's like, "It's my brother Samuel."
Wait, isn't the mustache how you determine that they're from the mirror universe?
No, it's a goatee.
Oh,
I do want to address that. The characterization of T'Pring.
Yes.
I have that changes so much about how I view the original series now. It's like, oh, wait, they were I now understand why T'Pring, for a Vulcan, got pissed.
Yeah.
It's like, no, she wasn't just she has valid reasons.
Yeah.
I also like the very subtle, oh, by the way, women propose to men on Vulcan. That is Vulcan tradition.
It's been pretty well established that Vulcan is
matriarchal.
If you were to establish it, it would be matriarchal. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been pretty obvious. Well, since fucking Amok time. When he talks about basically like career and marriage can augment each other, and she says, "I have doubts."
It's like
my brain immediately went to, I did not wish to be the consort of a legend, so I chose Stan.
Yep.
I was like, oh yeah, there it is, right here.
I was hung up on the line from this particular episode where she's like, "I'm not gonna chase you down the galaxy, just so we can get married." From day one, she's like, you have to give me as much as I'm giving you. This is not a one-way, pining situation.
Yeah.
But that is not the characterization that we get of T'Pring when she's first introduced and only seen in Amok Time in the original series.
Where it's just that she's like, I want to marry this guy now instead, right?
Yeah. I mean, her reasoning in Amok Time does make sense, but seeing it evolve here is going to make Amok Time work even better now.
Yep. And the same with everything. Every time I see Uhura in anything else, it's like, oh yeah, okay, she's a fucking genius. Uhura is a prodigy. She just is.
Yeah. It just, and the show is just also gorgeous. The effects are beautiful. The sets are amazing. Yeah, I
loved making Robert April canon.
Yeah, played by Adrian Holmes, I believe. Yeah.
Yep.
I did like that. So the guy who wrote the Robert April scene in the animated series, it was really sweet. He did this tweet of I wrote this character 40 plus years ago. It's really cool to see an actor of, he says, of Adrian Holmes' caliber bringing him to life. And, shitty Trek fans went after him. You didn't actually create Robert April. Gene Roddenberry did because he's in the original write-up. I'm like, shut up. Yeah, Gene Roddenberry wrote the name Robert April down on an early, show Bible. But, this dude wrote him. Come on.
Yep. They are being called Trek Bros, and Trek Bros can politely go fuck themselves.
Yeah, I don't. And also, speaking of Trek Bros, I absolutely love the fact that one of the reasons why a lot of people were so excited about Strange New Worlds is it was a return to my Trek, real Trek, not non-woke Trek. Which, by the way, if you thought that TOS wasn't woke for 1966, you're an idiot.
Mm.
Now, no, but 1966, yeah. But that's what they think they're getting, and like 20 minutes in, Stranger World is like, hey, we're gonna call the insurrection the start of the Second American Civil War that led to the eugenics wars that led to World War III because we could never quit being dicks to each other.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to that the whole plot point in Picard with Sung taking out that folder that says Khan 1996. In the original series, they talked about the eugenics wars taking place in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
They're retconning that, but they're still placing Khan in the 90s.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're still launching him in 1996.
Yeah, so Khan is still canonically in the 90s. The eugenics wars are still because of Khan, because of the work that Sung tries to, pursues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, that's fantastic. Good, well done.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to learning more about Laan Noonien Singh. Should be really curious.
Who is apparently related.
Oh yeah, they've said that at the beginning. She is a descendant of Khan.
That's nuts.
I just want to watch Lieutenant Ortega's fly the ship fast and apparently sword fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, we're coming back. We're coming back to sword fighting on starships.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I do love the fact that that Star Trek as a rule has maintained the idea of like, no, if you're at the helm, you're kind of a hothead. You're all kind of obsessed with just going fast, and that does track.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the same concept that like media holds for regular Earth pilots.
Yeah, you think it was them up there flapping their arms to fly.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite parts, I think, is in Star Trek 2 when they're leaving space dock and Sulu asks, Captain, what do I want? And Spock says, you may indulge yourself. And Sulu's like, oh hell yeah.
Very well.
I love that Detner's like, I've been flying since I was 12. Like, come on. And as much as Paris is annoying, Paris is a hella good pilot.
Yep. Considering like Detmer and Ortegas are from the same era, it explains why they are that specific type of pilot that they are.
Yeah. Because this is the era of cowboy diplomacy Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're just exploring. You know what the fuck we're doing? Right now it's called General Order 1. We might as well make it give it a little more oomph behind it, make it the Prime Directive.
They're thinking of calling it the Prime Directive. Well, that'll never stick.
It's good. It's fun. The cast is great.
On a completely separate note, I'm really happy for the actress Melanie Scrofano from Winona Earp, in that she has now joined the Star Trek universe and is a captain.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That was great. Like, she showed up in that opening scene with Pike, and I'm like, oh, hey, look at you. Oh, and those are captain bars. Good job.
Yeah. And I loved her
semi-supportive
nature of. Yeah. I love her little supportive nature of Pike when she's like, I'll be back in a month. I hope I don't see you.
Yeah.
Like, I hope your ass is back in the center seat, you big.
You know where you belong.
Which, like, I love that that shows how relationships can still be very intimate and very casual within the Star Trek universe. It's like, we enjoy this, that we are also captains of our own ship, so we are literally ships passing in the night. That's fine.
Yeah,
like, that's all our lives are.
Maybe it's more, maybe it's not. Even if it is more, you're about to kick off a 5-year mission, whether you know it or not.
Yep. Great. Fantastic. So, like, and it allows those captains to just kind of go, yeah. It's like, her, like you were saying, her line is great. It's like, I'll be back in a month. Hope you're not here. I did truly appreciate that they bookended the episode with the speech scene from the day the earth stood still, and then gave Pike the opportunity to give his own of the same speech.
Yeah. I love the two parts. Well, the one is the take me to your leader. And the way when he beams in while they're yelling at each other in the debate, where he just kind of turns his head and goes, hi. It's the look of like, if I'm going to break the rules, I might as well break them all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yep.
It was great.
Yeah.
And that actress, the leader of that planet, is also that was Sam and Dean's mother.
That's why she looks familiar. I was like, I know that actress.
Like, why does that look like Robin Wright, but not exactly like Robin Wright? That's because that's why.
Right. Nice.
I can't wait for episode 2.
Nope.
I'm so
Can't
excited.
either. Yeah. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this season. I think, or this new series. I think it's gonna be.
I'm hoping we get the Gorn.
I mean,
I feel
they're
like
leaning heavy into it.
I sure talk about it a bunch.
It felt like Chekhov's Gorn.
Oh yeah, Cable and I talked about that at Guardian a few days ago. Yeah, Chekhov's Gorn. They're referenced twice in one episode.
In a way that makes it's like, oh, Slaughtered by Gorn is now on a list of ways I don't want to die.
Yeah. And if you know your Trek lore at all, you know that Pike has some kind of connection to the Gorn. Because in DS9, Cisco mentions wanting to catch a baseball game on Cestus 3 and watch the Pike City Pioneers.
Mm-hmm.
And Cestus 3 is where Kirk fought the Gorn. So clearly they made up at one. We made up at some time.
Well,
has to be.
With that. And I hope they look better than they did in fucking Enterprise. Oh, so bad.
So awful.
So bad.
Fucking awful. I would actually rather have TOS Gorn than Enterprise.
Yeah.
Gorn.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd rather have anything TOS than Enterprise, but that's a conversation for a different day.
I think we've had that conversation. It was part of your Trekication.
Well, we've touched on it for sure.
Well, with that, I'm Aaron Duran.
I'm Bean Arena.
And I'm Cable Hashizane.
We will talk to everybody next week. Bye.
Bye, friends.
Bye.